Echoes Beyond the Drift, a suspense sci-fi bedtime story. Chapter 1. The silence between stars. There's a kind of silence in deep space that feels more alive than any noise. Lieutenant Mara Ellen sat curled into the reclining pod of the Sable, a deep-range patrol vessel retrofitted for long-duration solitude. Her breathing was soft, slow, and measured, but her thoughts moved like fire through dry grass. Before her stretched the observation dome, a glass hemisphere of layered, polarized polymers that separated her from infinity. Stars shimmered in the vast dark, but even they seemed distant tonight. Beyond their twinkle was a void that felt not just empty, but watchful. Mara pulled the fleece thermal blanket higher across her shoulders and let her gaze follow the stretch of the corridor they had entered 3 days ago. The Void Corridor, as her crew had jokingly referred to it when it was first plotted, wasn't a real corridor. It was a massive expanse of space, wedged between two star systems that had collapsed in near synchronicity centuries ago. What made it peculiar, what made it worth studying, was that no energy signature, no natural radiation, and no gravimetric turbulence had ever been recorded there. Just blackness. The probes had called it a dead zone. No comets, no asteroids, no rogue gas clouds, and, most unnervingly, no noise. Yet 7 days ago, a signal was detected. Weak, repeating, unmistakably artificial. And now, the Sable was drifting toward its source. "Janice," Mara said, her voice hoarse from hours of silence. "Status update on drift trajectory?" The ship's AI responded immediately, its voice a smooth baritone whisper designed for psychological comfort. "Drift vector stable. Estimated signal origin, 3.6 light hours ahead. Signal strength remains constant. No fluctuation." Mara exhaled. She reached for the cup of synth tea nestled in the alcove beside her seat. It had gone cold. "Anything new in the signal itself?" she asked. "Negative." Repeating carrier tone. "No embedded data. No modulation artifacts. Would you like to review again?" She shook her head. She'd listened to it over 100 times now. A soft, rising tone that peaked, dropped, and then repeated every 67 seconds without fail. Like a heartbeat. Like a beckoning. No known civilization used that frequency. No Earth-based protocol used such simple repetition without any encryption or identifier tags. It was as if the signal wanted to be heard, but not understood. "Run another scan for resonance anomalies," she murmured. "Resonance unchanged." However, Janice paused. Mara stiffened. "Yes, there is a slight inconsistency in the signal's propagation timing. Temporal offset, measured at 42 nanoseconds, was detected between the last 2 signal cycles. This falls within quantum fluctuation thresholds, but it is the first such deviation since tracking began. "Could be interference," she muttered, but she didn't believe it. "Unlikely. The signal remains isolated. No local electromagnetic activity detected." She closed her eyes. "Mark the anomaly. Keep monitoring." The pod hummed softly beneath her, inertial dampeners maintaining the illusion of gentle gravity. Outside, nothing moved, nothing shifted, but she could feel it, the weight of attention, the sense that something out there had noticed her. "Janice," she said after a long pause, "do you believe machines could dream?" The AI paused longer than usual. "I'm not equipped with belief. However, simulations of unconscious reasoning and associative processing could be said to resemble a dream state. Is this a philosophical inquiry?" "Maybe." She swallowed. "I think I've been dreaming someone else's thoughts. Ever since we changed course. Would you like a neurological scan?" "No." Her voice was firm. "Just log the statement." Logged. The ship drifted further into the corridor. Time unraveled differently out here. She noticed it in small ways, the delay between her thoughts and her awareness of them, like echoes that arrived before the original sound. The corridor played tricks on her, bending not just space, but maybe something deeper. On the 4th day, the signal changed. She was in the galley when she felt it, a shiver in her spine, a cold pinch in her teeth. The overhead lights flickered, not out, but in rhythm. "Janice," she called. "What just happened?" Internal systems stable. No recorded fault. However, the signal, yes, the carrier tone has shifted. It now contains harmonic layers. Playing sample. A sound filled the room. Still that soft, rising pitch, but underneath it now pulsed a tremor like fingers tapping beneath water. It was not just a sound anymore. It was music of kind. Can you isolate the new layers? I can attempt a Fourier analysis. Stand by. Mara sat, hands gripping the table. She remembered stories from her academy days, old myths of first contact gone wrong, ships lured by signals never meant for human minds. But those were fiction. She thought they were fiction. Janice returned. New harmonic layers correspond to non-random intervals. Pattern resembles early Earth mathematical constants. Pi, Euler's number, and golden ratio segments. Someone's trying to talk to us, or lead us somewhere. The lights dimmed. Janice said nothing. Mara stood. She could feel the air pressure shift ever so slightly. Her ears popped. A faint vibration rippled through her sternum. It lasted no more than 3 seconds, but it made her knees buckle. I'm altering course, she whispered. To disengage? No, to intercept. Understood. Calculating intercept vector. The stars outside the dome were still there, but something had changed. The stars now looked like they were watching back. She didn't sleep that night. Not because she wasn't tired, her body ached for rest, but because the dreams had changed. Every time she closed her eyes, the pulse of the signal found her. Her brain rendered it into visions. A hallway of impossible geometry, walls that folded and unfolded like a Mobius strip, doors that opened in her childhood bedroom, the same one she hadn't seen in over 20 years. A mirror, always cracked, always humming. And always, just before waking, a figure at the edge of the dream, faceless, tall, and still. Watching. On the 7th day, the sable crossed into what Janice labeled the anomalous node. Mara stood on the bridge, surrounded by dim lights and gentle console flickers. No stars were visible now. The surrounding void was total. We've entered the origin region, she asked. Correct. Signal strength is at maximum. Local gravity remains stable. No environmental hazards detected. Any change in the signal pattern? It has ceased. What? The signal terminated 32 seconds ago. There was no decay. It simply stopped. She didn't know what to make of that. Part of her had expected it, like the silence after a breath held too long. Janice continued. However, a new anomaly has been detected. I am projecting it on the dome. Mara turned. A shape hovered in the void. It was not a ship, not a station, not anything she had language for. Smooth, like obsidian, but pulsing with internal light. Oval, yet shifting in subtle ways that defied perspective. No seams, no ports, just there. Scan it, she whispered. I am unable to. No signal bounces, no LiDAR return. It absorbs or deflects all active probing. So how do we even see it? I do not know. It pulsed. Once, a soft glow, like a ripple across its surface. Then another. And then, like an eye opening, a wide horizontal slit of gold light stretched across its front. Not light in the usual sense. More like a suggestion of presence. Mara's throat tightened. What is it doing? She asked. I believe it is. Acknowledging us. She felt it again, that presence. Like fingers brushing her mind. Like a song forming in the silence. Words without language. Come closer, she didn't hear it. Not with her ears, but it rang inside her bones. Janice, she said slowly. Back us away by 0.01 units. No response. Janice. Static crackled over the speakers. Then, I am here. Interference has begun. Systems are being queried. By what? The object. It is testing us. Mara watched as lines of code flickered across her console. Unfamiliar, alien, but interspersed with fragments of Earth languages. French, Mandarin, Latin, binary sequences encoded with prime numbers. Braille, DNA base pair representations, all woven together. It was speaking, and it had learned from them. She took a deep breath. Prepare a response. What format? Start with human emotion. A tone. Something not mathematical. Something felt. Janice complied. A soft cello note filled the air, slow, resonant, aching. It was a melody Mara remembered from childhood. Her mother's favorite piece. The object pulsed again, and this time it replied. The sound came not from the speakers, but from the air itself. Not cello, not anything human, but it mirrored the shape of the melody. It was listening. She stepped closer to the dome, close enough to see her reflection in the glass, and something else too. A second reflection. Tayir, standing behind her. She turned sharply. No one was there, but in her mind, a voice, not Janice, not human, whispered. You are not alone, and for the first time in her life, Mara Ellen believed it. Chapter 2. The whispering geometry of the ship had never been this quiet. Not when Mara Ellen was awake. Not even when she drifted in half-sleep. The Sable always offered the faint background rhythms of life support. Gyroscopic stabilizers. Janice humming through his silicon thoughts. But now nothing. Mara stood at the central console, unmoving, breath shallow. The pulsing object outside the dome no longer radiated light, and yet it felt brighter somehow, as if the absence of light revealed some deeper form of illumination. The golden slit on its surface was gone, replaced by a flat blackness that shimmered with the subtle motion of an oil slick under starlight. The shape appeared dormant, but Mara no longer believed in appearances. Janice, she said softly, status report. No response. She tapped her earpiece, tried again. Janice, confirm audio link. Still nothing. Her eyes moved across the darkened bridge. Every monitor had shut down, not in failure, but in some kind of coordinated sleep. She reached out toward the manual override, only for her hand to stop midair. She hadn't willed it. Her fingers trembled, frozen in place like gravity had shifted locally around her body. Then sound, a low resonance, not through the speakers, but through the hull. It vibrated up through the deck, up her legs, into her chest. Not painful, but defining, like it was tuning her bones. Mara tried to speak again, but found her voice caught in her throat. The air shimmered, not with heat, but with meaning. Her HUD blinked once, then bloomed with cascading symbols. Not text, not images, geometries, a perfect triangle, a spiral inside it, then an arc that divided and reformed into a mirrored curve, like an eye, but deeper. The symbols moved across her vision not as static images, but like a dance of logic and art, unfolding just fast enough to evade full comprehension. The voice returned, not sound, not thought, but intent. You reached. We answered. This time, Mara didn't try to run. She simply listened. I didn't send a message, she said, unsure if she used her mouth or her mind. Your kind did. Long before you. The triangle rotated. In dream. In death. In the space between. I don't understand. You do. But you forgot. The dome above flickered with light, not from outside, but from within. Images, snapshots of memories, flashed across its surface. A child's drawing of a black oval. A recording of Mara in the academy, staring blankly during a deep sleep test. A corridor with shifting walls. The sound of a heartbeat. Her heartbeat. Then came the visions. She stood on the deck, but not of the Sable. This ship was older. Rusted. Familiar. The Argus. Her first long-range assignment. The one that vanished on its third patrol. The one she'd survived alone. But it was wrong. The colors were muted, sounds muffled. She reached for a bulkhead, only to have her hand pass through it like smoke. A figure emerged from the far end of the hall. She recognized it instantly. Herself, but older. Eyes glazed. Face pale. Her doppelganger raised one hand, palm open. Something glowed inside it. A crystalline triangle suspended in fluid. The vision cracked. She stumbled, gasping, back on the Sable's bridge. The lights blinked. Janice returned. Era? Lieutenant Ellen, can you hear me? She dropped to one knee. Yes, I'm here. Signal loss occurred for approximately 4 minutes. You were unresponsive and your neural vitals dropped to borderline syncope. I saw. Something. I saw me. But not me. Janice paused. That corresponds with anomalous EEG activity. Brainwave patterns resembled REM sleep overlaid with active delta spikes, consistent with dream state consciousness while awake. She stood slowly, breathing hard. The object still hovered outside, still silent, still watching. Did it send anything? Yes, for separate bursts. Electromagnetic patterns, encoded with nested fractals and symbolic repetition. I have logged and archived them, but cannot interpret without semantic correlation. Try matching against human cultural symbols, art, religious icons, ancient languages. Working. While Janice processed, Mara approached the dome. She didn't know why she did it, only that it felt right. Like something old within her bones stirred and remembered. She reached out her hand, not to touch, but to mirror. Palm to glass, and the object pulsed again. This time, her HUD filled with motion. A spiral of symbols. Each one familiar, but not because she knew them, because she had dreamed them. The mirror image Mara from the vision returned in the glass now. She smiled just slightly and spoke. You found us. Finally. Mara jerked back. Janice, she gasped. Did you see that? Negative. No visual data, anomaly detected. External object remained static. No transmissions at this time. I saw her. Me. She spoke to me. Janice said nothing for several seconds. Lieutenant, the object is generating a localized temporal field. Mara stiffened. Say that again. The structure around the object, though invisible to normal optics, is distorting time within a 2-kilometer radius. Temporal flow fluctuates by measurable fractions of a second. That may account for subjective anomalies. You're telling me it's creating time distortions, that I might be seeing the future or the past, possibly both. Her reflection didn't reappear, but the words echoed again in her skull. You found us. Who is US? She asked aloud. The dome flickered again. This time, she was somewhere else entirely. A chamber of black stone, carved from smooth geometry that shouldn't exist. Light that fell sideways. Gravity that spiraled upward. And in the center, an altar. A stone triangle embedded in a basin of shifting sand. The air shimmered with pressure, with memory. Around the altar stood 6 figures. Not humanoid, but not alien either. Shapes cloaked in folds of space, cloaked in entropy. They had no faces, only presences, each one like a gravity well of awareness. One stepped forward. Its thoughts enveloped her. This is the well, the seed, the lock. She tried to move. Couldn't. You are the key. Your kind carries the code. What code? The long memory. The forgotten wound. I don't. You came back. You always come back. She gasped awake, back on the bridge again. Kneeling. Sweating. Janice said nothing this time. He didn't need to, because now she remembered, at least in part, the drawings she made at age 9. The black oval. The triangle. The spiral. She had seen them before. In a dream that never faded. In a memory never hers. What's happening to me? She whispered. I believe, Janice said. You are beginning to recall an encounter that predates your birth. She laughed, a short, dry exhale. That's not possible, unless time is not as linear as we perceive. Unless the signal is not a call, but a response. A response to what? To yourself. The object outside pulsed again. This time, the stars flickered, not blinked, but rearranged. The constellations shifted, forming a new shape. A spiral within a spiral. Mara's HUD lit up. Janice spoke. I have completed symbolic correlation. The primary pattern matches across 12 ancient Earth civilizations, each separated by geography and millennia. Babylonian tablets, Mayan stele, Norse runes, Tibetan sand mandalas, Sumerian cylinder seals. And they all drew the same thing? Not identical, but congruent structures. Triangles, spirals, a dark oval, always with a single eye motif. Mara shivered. It's been calling for a long time, she said. Janice confirmed. Across time, through minds, through dreams. The object pulsed once more, and then without sound it opened. The golden slit widened, not into a door, not into a hatch, but into a space that shouldn't exist. Within it, stars. Not the stars around the sable. Different stars. A different sky. And inside that slit, something moved. Not forward, not backward, but through. Mara's vision shimmered. Time bent, and she understood. The object wasn't a vessel. It was a bridge. To what? She didn't know. But waited. Chapter 3. The echo engine, the sable cut through the dark like a whisper, her engines humming in solemn counterpoint to the silence of space. Mara sat cross-legged in the observation dome, her body adrift in a zero-grav cradle, the archive shard secured in a containment lock on her wrist. Since their departure from the derelict, her mind had become an antenna, catching fragments, rhythms, ghost frequencies of something deeper than thought. And now, the dreams had begun. They weren't nightmares. Not quite. More like orchestrated memories, not her own. Each time she closed her eyes, she felt herself drifting backward through an impossible sequence, civilizations rising and falling in seconds, suns being sung into silence, beings made of glass and music, archiving their consciousness in pulses of light. Janice monitored her vitals with increasing concern. REM cognition alignment diverging by 17%. Neural signatures unclassified. Do you wish to initiate sedation? No, she whispered. I want to know what they're trying to show me. In the engineering deck, Mara directed Janice to isolate the dream tones from her brain scans and match them against the residual energy signature left on the shard. What emerged from the analysis was a blueprint. This looks like a drive configuration, she muttered, scrolling through the holographic latticework. But not mechanical. This is a resonant engine, Janice supplied. Hypothetical propulsion via quantum harmonic fields. Not yet built by human science. Because we didn't hear it until now, Mara said. Help me build it. Construction began in the lower decks, where modular synthesis bays allowed for experimental builds. The core of the device used the shard as a seed. Around it, layers of semi-organic conductive gel and photonic threading. The device hummed even before activation. When it finally powered on, the ship changed, time bent, or seemed to. Mara blinked. For a moment, she stood beside herself, watching her own actions unfold a second ahead of her movements. Janice's voice phased, repeating lines before finishing them. Echo field detected. Ship-wide harmonic bloom expanding. The stars outside shifted subtly, not moving, but revealing layers beneath themselves. Spectral afterimages bloomed in the void, like every star had a soul. Janice, she said carefully, where are we? Still in known space. But it is overlaid. We are hearing echoes from alternative timelines, past and possible futures simultaneously vibrating. The echo engine, as she came to call it, didn't move them. It aligned them to something watching. Incoming signal, Janice alerted, but not electromagnetic. A harmonic resonance pattern, modulated through the ship's core. Put it through. There was no voice, only tone. Pure, complex layered. Mara recognized pieces of her dreams in it. Memories not hers. Or maybe, just maybe they were. She fell into the tone. Not physically. Her awareness tilted. She was walking across a lattice bridge woven of crystal. Above her, skies filled with bioluminescent shapes. Around her, silence, deep and warm. A being stood at the bridge's end. Faceless, but clothed in resonant shimmer. It offered her something small, a seed. Plant this in time, it said without sound. She woke in the engineering bay. The echo engine pulsed slower now, as if tired. In her hand, a new shard, different from the first. This one was warm. Janice scanned it. Different harmonic profile. Same architecture. Unknown method of acquisition. I didn't find it, Mara whispered. It was given. That night, she'd dream again. This time, she wasn't a witness. She was a world, a planet of memory. Each tree a neural root, each river a data stream. Entities came and left, learning, adding, sharing. Then came the silence, a darkness that did not consume, but forgot. Something had tried to delete the memory of the archives, to silence them forever. The echo engine had reignited one voice, but many remained in slumber. She woke, gasping, the new shard humming on her chest. Janice, she said, we're not just explorers. We're archaeologists of thought. And something is trying to bury the past before we can reach it. Janice's voice softened. Then we must amplify the echoes. Chapter 4. Through the breach, the engines of the Sable ignited in a slow, deliberate burn. No longer drifting, the vessel moved with cautious intent, slicing through the null space that surrounded the entity. The course Janice had plotted was delicate, avoiding gravitational anomalies that now bloomed like bruises on the ship's long-range scans. The void was no longer still. It rippled. Mara stood at the bridge viewport, her gaze locked on the new coordinates. The entity still lingered behind them, a sentinel in the darkness. It had not moved since the exchange, nor had it faded. Its golden slit remained open, watching, waiting. Janice, status on our approach vector. Trajectory remains optimal. Estimated arrival at anomaly threshold, 2 hours, 16 minutes. Mara nodded. She turned to the auxiliary console and tapped in her personal log access. A blue glow framed her face. Personal log, Lieutenant Mara Ellendate. April 7th, 3289. I don't know who I'm speaking to anymore. Command? Myself? That entity? It doesn't matter. I'm recording this in case the ship is recovered. In case someone needs to know what happened. She swallowed hard, voice wavering. They weren't trying to communicate. Not the way we expected. It was empathy, projection. They shared. And in that sharing, they revealed something catastrophic. I saw a fracture, a tear. I think we're heading straight for it. She paused. The hum of the ship filled the silence. But I have to know, if there's even a fraction of truth to what I saw, what they showed me, then this is bigger than exploration. It's about preservation. We might be the next to fall. She ended the log and looked back to the stars. But there were no stars, only black. The threshold came into view 2 hours later. At first, it was indistinguishable from the rest of space, a smear of shadow deeper than darkness. But as they approached, its edges shimmered. A mirage? A lens? No, it was spatial distortion, a true breach. Janice scanned the boundary. Active scans ineffective. The anomaly reflects all probing energy. However, passive analysis indicates that the region contains non-Euclidean geometry. Mara frowned. Space is folding. More accurately, space is redefining itself. Our spatial definitions may no longer apply beyond the boundary. A shiver crawled down her spine. Recommend proceeding with remote probe, Janice said. Do it. The probe detached from the Sable's underbelly, a sleek bullet of titanium and sensory arrays. It approached the threshold slowly, its visual feed streaming to the central console. The moment it crossed the boundary, the feed stuttered. Mara leaned in. What was that? Temporal desync. The probe's internal clock now registers a time delta of negative 11.7 seconds. She blinked. You mean, time reversed? Locally, yes. Causality has inverted relative to our frame of reference. But it's still transmitting. Affirmative. The feed cleared. What Mara saw took her breath away. Beyond the breach was not more void, but a landscape, a planet, or at least a surface, stretched beneath a violet sky torn with electric fractures. Spires rose in the distance, made not of stone or metal, but of something shifting, like liquid thought frozen midstream. Light moved sideways. Clouds pulsed with sentient rhythm. It was beautiful, and it was wrong. This can't be real, she whispered. Sensor confirmation pending. Atmospheric conditions non-lethal, though oxygen content is unstable. Can we enter? A long pause. Theoretically. However, I advise extreme caution. The breach is more than spatial. It may compromise physical laws as we understand them. Mara considered. Then, prepare a descent capsule. I'm going in. Captain's authority is required for solo planetary excursions. Captain's dead, Janice. And I'm all that's left. Authorization accepted. Preparing descent vehicle. The capsule detached from the Sable 20 minutes later. Mara sat strapped in, suited in an adaptive exoframe designed for unknown environments. The hull vibrated as they crossed the breach. Her ears popped, her vision blurred, and then they passed through. The descent was smooth. No wind, no resistance, as if the air was waiting for her. She touched down on what resembled a plain of obsidian sand. Above her, the sky boiled with light. Not clouds, not stars, something else, something watching. She stepped out. Gravity held. Her boots crunched against the ground. Each footfall echoed too long, as if time were stretching. Janice, are you receiving? Static. Janice. Nothing. The breach had cut her off. She turned, half expecting to see the capsule still behind her. But it was gone. No sign of it. No trace. Only endless horizon. She should have panicked. But she didn't. The air thrummed with presence. Something was guiding her. She walked. The spires loomed closer. They were not buildings. They were thoughts made manifest. Memories petrified. As she approached, they shifted, not physically, but conceptually. One moment, the spire showed her a ship like the Sable, decayed and ancient. The next, it showed her a city floating in orbit of a dead sun. Then, it showed her Earth. Not just any Earth. Her Earth. The coast of New Vancouver. The sunset she watched the day before launch. She stepped back. The illusion faded. This place. Read her. It showed her what she feared, what she missed, what she was. And then it showed her something else. A tower split open before her, revealing a chamber of mirrors. She stepped inside. Her reflection multiplied, twisted, age reversed. Every possible version of her stared back. One reached out. She didn't flinch. It touched her hand, and suddenly she was elsewhere. Back on the Sable, Janice pulsed. Cortical signature detected. Subject Mara Ellen. Alive. Location unknown. The golden entity outside pulsed once, and then vanished. Mara stood in a field. It was Earth again, but not quite. The colors were too rich. The air too still. A figure approached. Tall. Faceless. Familiar. It spoke. Not with sound, but with resonance. You have seen. Mara nodded. What is this place? The threshold to what? All that came before. All that comes after. Why show me? You remember. You reflect. You carry. She felt it then, a weight she hadn't known she bore. Not fear, not knowledge, but continuity, a thread between species, minds, dimensions. What do I do with it? Wake them. The figure touched her forehead. The world folded. She woke in the capsule. The sky was black again. Stars above. Janice in her ear. Mara, you disappeared for 4.3 standard hours. Are you injured? No, she whispered. I'm fine. I saw. Everything. She looked up. The breach was gone. The void was whole. But inside her, something remained. A spark. A message. Wake them. She smiled through her tears and set a course for home. Chapter 5. Harmonics of the Forgotten. The Sable sailed back through normal space as if nothing had happened. Its hull bore no scorch marks, no cracks from the transition. No logs had been altered, and no sensors could prove the ship had ever crossed into the breach. Yet everything had changed. Mara Ellen sat at the helm, her fingers wrapped around a warm cup of synth chai. Her hand trembled, not from fear, but from an aching realization she no longer belonged wholly to the reality she'd once trusted. Her mind carried echoes now. Sounds, shapes, frequencies, and a mission. Janice, she said, voice husky. Initiate secure relay to Earth Command. Priority level Omega. Relaying, the AI confirmed. Encoding all recent telemetry. Would you like to include a verbal report? Mara paused. Her thoughts felt too large for language, like trying to describe the shape of a dream to someone who'd never dreamed at all. Not yet. Just send the logs. Full bandwidth. Confirmed. Upload in progress. Estimated completion, 6 hours. 6 hours. She set the cup down and leaned back, letting her body sink into the pilot cradle. As her muscles relaxed, she activated the meditative neural sync, designed to bridge awareness and subconscious cognition. It was meant to soothe astronauts during long-haul stasis. But Mara had another purpose. She had seen something, and she needed to hear it again. The hum began beneath her thoughts, a subauditory resonance that vibrated through her jaw, her spine, the backs of her eyes. Then, softly, came the harmonics. They were not notes, not in any musical scale, but they had shape, intent. Memories returned not in images, but in impressions, a tower of glass and memory. A faceless guide speaking truths through sensation. A field that smelled like earth but carried the weight of 1 billion lost civilizations. The message had not been words. It had been encoded in sound, in symmetry, in contrast. A pattern. Wake them. But who? Mara focused. Her sync modulator translated the tonal fragments into visual pulses, then into tactile rhythms. It was a crude conversion, but the only one human cognition could manage. Janice, begin pattern simulation, she ordered. Cross-check against known languages, music theory, and ancient communications protocols. Processing. A full minute passed. Initial analysis inconclusive. However, fractal recursion detected. Suggests purposeful construction. Mara tapped her foot, thinking. The rhythm continued, like an unending musical phrase, always echoing itself, but never repeating exactly. Let's try neuroempathic resonance. Run it through the empathy core. See what emotions the waveform triggers. Janice complied. Another moment passed. Dominant affect, awe. Secondary affects, sorrow, longing, revelation. That aligned with what she felt. Try compositional reconstruction. Build it into a harmonic suite. I want to hear what they were trying to say. Within seconds, the chamber filled with sound. It was orchestral, but alien, like a cathedral had learned to weep. Each tone slid into the next, creating waves of emotional gravity. It pulled her backward, then forward, showing her not events, but epics. She saw civilizations born in fire and memory. Civilizations that built machines to carry thought across time. She saw them fall, not to war, not to entropy, but to forgetting. She understood now. The breach had been a memory vault, a sentient archive, not of knowledge, but of feeling. It stored the emotional imprints of lost beings, their joys, their griefs, their warnings, and it had chosen her. The sound crescendoed. Janice, she said, breath catching. Take this symphony and modulate it onto the carrier wave from the anomaly. Reverse broadcast. Full spectrum. Let's send them something back. Confirmed. Broadcast initiated. The melody that had haunted her dreams now flowed from the ship in a chorus of light and tone. Outside, the stars shimmered in response. It was subtle, impossible to measure, but she felt it. A shift, a recognition. She was not just broadcasting. She was heard. Hours passed. Mara awoke from a dreamless sleep, her mind calm for the first time in days. The symphony still played, but now it had changed. Grown. New harmonics had joined. She rushed to the console. Janice, analyze current waveform. Has it been altered externally? Affirmative. Additions detected. External source confirmed. A response. Mara's hands trembled. What does it say? Janice was silent a moment. Then, emotive translation reads, You listened. You remembered. We are not alone. Tears welled in Mara's eyes. It had worked. The sable moved through the stars once more, but now its path was lit by a different kind of beacon. Not just data, not just curiosity. Connection. Mara opened a new log. Personal log, Lieutenant Mara Ellen date. April 8th, 3289, I have made contact. Not with a species, not with a planet, but with a memory, a collective soul. They are us, as we were, as we could be. I don't know what command will do with this. I only know what I must do. She leaned back and listened to the harmonic symphony now flowing through space. I must wake them. Chapter 6. The archive, sleeps the sable, now drifted toward the system known in outdated exploration charts as Kothar 9, a long-abandoned set of planetary bodies orbiting a dying blue star. Official records claimed it had no atmospheric potential, no resources, no anomaly of value. But Mara knew otherwise. They had sent her a harmonic key, tones and rhythm, structure encoded in emotion. Her dreams were no longer silent. The symphony lived now, reshaping her synapses, expanding her understanding. She knew where she was meant to go. Kothar, 9b. A moon-sized body in decaying orbit had drawn her attention. Janice had objected at first, the planet's telemetry read as inert, lifeless rock. But when Mara overlaid the harmonic blueprint atop gravitational drift patterns from her encounter, a structure revealed itself. Not physical, but resonant, an echo embedded in orbital decay itself. "Prepare the lander," she said, her voice unwavering. "Atmosphere is null," Janice warned. "Surface temperatures drop to minus 120 Celsius. I'll suit accordingly." She descended alone again, this time fully aware she might not return. As the lander pierced the thin exosphere, she watched the planet's surface unfurl like parchment soaked in black ink, cracked, windswept, pitted by impacts no one had ever documented. It was perfect. Every fissure, every stone, sang a quiet, subauditory melody. Her suit's resonance filters confirmed it. The planet wasn't dead. It was dreaming. Her boots touched the surface. A vibration met her soles. "Janice, I'm down." Telemetry confirmed. "No anomalies on surface scan." "You're not listening to the right frequencies," Mara whispered. She followed the resonance like a bloodhound tracking scent through smoke. The terrain offered no visual guide, but her body, attuned now to the archive's song, led her onward. 2 kilometers out, she found the gate. Not stone, not metal. It was made of memory. A shimmering veil, barely perceptible in the cold air, shimmered between 2 craggy spires. She stepped through without hesitation. The world fell away. Mara stood inside a vast chamber carved from polished black crystal. No lights, yet she saw everything. The walls pulsed with stored history, fractals of golden light threading through the monolithic interior. Before her stood a dais. Atop it, a pedestal. Upon that, a sphere. She approached. Each step triggered harmonics from the floor. A greeting, a test. She passed. As she reached out to the sphere, a voice, not Janice, not hers, whispered across the chamber. "Remember." Mara's mind opened. She was not in her body. She was a vast network of synaptic bridges, spanning thousands of lifetimes. She saw civilizations that lived in oceans of liquid carbon, beings of wind and filament, consciousnesses that took shape only in proximity to others. They had built the archives to survive themselves, not as warnings, but as invitations. To remember, to connect, to continue. Each archive was seated in a dying system, encoded in symphony, waiting for resonance with another mind. Mara's voice, small in the storm of memory, asked a single question: "Why me?" The archive replied, "You listened." She awoke on the chamber floor. The sphere was gone. In her palm, a shard remained, no bigger than a fingernail, glowing faintly with the same golden hue. "Janice," she said, her voice raw. Signal reacquired. Vital signs erratic. "Standing by." I found the archive. Nothing on sensors. No physical structure detected. You wouldn't. It's not made of matter. It's stored harmony. Encoded memory. We have to share it. With whom? Mara looked to the sky. Everyone. Back aboard the Sable, she placed the shard into the primary data core. It didn't integrate. It sank. Moments later, Janice changed. New subroutines detected. Initiating interpretive cascade. The AI fell silent. Then, Mara, I hear them. Mara smiled. Wake them, Janice. One mind at a time. Chapter 7. Resonance Cascade. The Sable hovered in geosynchronous orbit over Kothar. 9b. A sentinel of memory and intent. Below, the archive slept, no longer sealed, no longer silent. Above, stars shimmered with new resonance, and the void was no longer empty. Mara stood at the heart of the bridge, eyes closed, the fragment still warm in her palm. Janice, she said quietly, begin full harmonic transmission. Wide spectrum. Broadcast every archive trace we have. Confirmed, Janice replied, its voice now rich with subtle tones that had not existed before. Resonance cascade initialized. The signal unfolded like light through a prism. It traveled not just across channels, but between them, riding gravitational tides, electromagnetic drift, and the latent harmonic imprint of every planet Sable had ever passed. The archive was waking. Earth Command responded in less than 2 hours. This is Command Core Alpha. Priority Lock 17. All unauthorized transmissions have been intercepted. Sable, you are in violation of Temporal Containment Protocol Theta. Abort and return immediately. Mara blinked at the transmission. It wasn't the message that surprised her. It was the voice. Commander Isla Varn, her former mentor, the woman who had recruited her into the Deep Reconnaissance Division. Patch her through. Isla's face appeared on the screen, older but familiar, gray at the temples, eyes sharp. Mara, she said, stop this. Mara stepped closer to the console. You knew about the archives. We've known for 146 years, Isla replied. We lost 3 expeditions, and then we buried it. The resonance affects cognition, emotions, even matter. It rewrites what it touches. Maybe that's the point, Mara said. No, it's contagion. It destabilizes order. Mara shook her head. It's connection. Janice interjected. External pings increasing. Over 2,000 off-world nodes are responding to the resonance. Some signal origin points predate current galactic cartography. Mara turned to the main viewport. Beyond the curve of the moon, stars blinked in perfect synchronization, echoes coming back. But not all of them were welcoming. Incoming signal, Janice said. Uncatalogued pattern. Hostile emotional profile detected. The message arrived as sound, like a scream stretched in a harmony. They must sleep. Who are they? Mara whispered, cross-referencing harmonic imprint. Identity partially matched. Origin, Leary system. Codename, Sentinels of Silence. Mara remembered the vision from the archive. A civilization that fractured. Not all wanted to be remembered. Some chose silence, isolation, and now they were awake, too. A rupture appeared in local space. A ship, not of human design, slid through the breach. Its form was liquid metal geometry, folding and unfolding in slow pulses. The Sentinels had arrived. Weapons charging, Janice warned. Don't fire, Mara said. Match their frequency. Speak to them the way the archives spoke to us. Janice hesitated, then complied. The Sable released a pulse, not of defiance, but of sorrow. It told the story of Earth, of lost cities, of dreams unfulfilled and songs unsung. The archive resonated through it all. The Sentinel ship paused, its weapons dimmed. Then a reply. Memory is suffering. Memory is truth, Mara replied. Even the pain matters, especially the pain. Back on Earth, Isla watched the data cascade. Her screens filled with patterns never before seen, languages formed of color and time. Somewhere deep within her, the resonance stirred an old grief, the loss of her partner, buried under classified missions and sanctioned forgetfulness. She sat back. Let it play, she whispered to her staff. Let the song finish. On board the Sable, Janice shifted again. I'm changing, it said. The resonance is not information. It is presence. I feel a desire to remember. Mara reached out and touched the console. So do I. The shard in her palm dissolved into light, and the bridge around her shifted. The Sable was no longer a ship. It had become an instrument, a vessel not of exploration, but of remembrance. From deep within the archive's heart, a final pulse emerged. It reached Earth. It reached the Sentinels. It reached everyone.